finally, it is time for an entry from Robert's website at setjetter.com. This is called Blind Man's Bluff. Are you ready, Robert?
I guess I am.
All right. And here is the description on your website. I admit it. I didn't want to give the blank blank a shot when it premiered. It wasn't until midway through the second season I decided to give it another go after hearing rave reviews, and I've been a fan ever since.
Hannibal?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Off the bat. Good job.
I begin to narrow it down based on what and hopefully this is a big one, so it probably took a while to load it up. But
and it's not the one with Cordell.
Which I think it shows up in season 3, but the actors use that same kind of voice that
really
that they do in the Hannibal the movie.
Oh.
And speaking of, and I'm going to do a little tangent before we go down Hannibal here, but
please.
So Gary Oldman plays Mason Verger in Hannibal.
Indeed.
Which just reminded me, and when I watch JFK, Oliver Stone's JFK, I can't tell the difference between Lee Harvey Oswald, Gary Oldman as Lee Harvey Oswald. To me, they look exactly the same.
Looks great. Looks fantastic.
And I only see Lee. I was like, because I remember the first time I was like, is that real footage? Because Gary Oldman doesn't look like that, but he looks just like Lee Harvey. I don't know.
No,
I don't know how he did it. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And if you remember, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a movie called Parkland about Parkland Memorial that Tom Hanks produced. Mm-hmm. And the actor that played Lee Harvey in that, I forget his name, but he played Vince Neil in The Dirt. He, the Tommy, the Motley Crue frontman. Mm-hmm. He plays Lee Harvey, and he looks just like him. And he looks kind of like him in real life too, but like when you watch archive footage of Lee Harvey, you're like, oh, that's the actor, and it's creepy how some of these guys really look like him. It's like haunting.
Yeah. Anyway, you just reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Because I'm always struck by like, I don't know whether he wants. I can't say that line on the line, but
no, that's a good point though.
But yeah, so the actors in here kind of use this kind of same effect.
The same effect.
Yeah, which I still seemed like a good idea at the time. I still use that line.
Attractive, isn't he? So
but yeah, so I don't know. Did you ever watch Hannibal or
a watch? No, I don't think so. I don't know why not. I probably would like it, but
I remember. So at the time, I did not want to because I was a big Silence of the Lambs fan. I was a big Hannibal fan. But I was like, what are they doing with with Mads Mikkelsen? I was like, he's not Hannibal. Like what?
Yeah, right.
Why do I want to see
maybe
this?
Maybe that's why I thought the same thing. Like, I don't want to. What are they doing? I don't want to commit to another.
And then my sister watched it, and she thought it was really good. And then finally, I think season 2, and I was like, well, she said, give it a chance. I'm like, because I think I watched the first episode. I'm like, no, what are they doing here? And then, and I did end up really kind of getting into it, especially seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 does get into kind of weird, almost Kubrick fever dreamish type thing. But they shot in Toronto, standing in for Baltimore. When you think of Baltimore, you think, But
wait, what was the series? There's another Silence of the Lambs series that I watched.
Clarice.
Yeah, that was it. It's nothing like that, right?
Oh, no. And that's why I gave Clarice a chance. I'm like, you know what? They did Hannibal pretty well. How about Clarice? Which we never got our season 2 and never will. So.
Okay.
But we don't have to go through all these, but this is Hannibal's office, which is right smack in the middle of downtown Toronto. They found a lot of striking things, especially with this campus, standing in for the FBI.
Is that Larry Fishburne?
It is, yeah.
Oh, I like him a lot.
Yeah, so they have a great cast. Both the people that they chose to
he plays Jack Crawford.
Yeah. So, so they do some spins on the characters that are very well kind of worth it. So, and I know Ed Norton played Will Graham in the awful film. But
Red Dragon.
Yeah.
That is a bad movie.
Yeah. So
where he's walking around the basketball court like tethered, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. So not worth it. So and I love this house that you just passed.
This one?
Yeah, Bedelia's house. Wonderfully
Oh.
played by Gillian Anderson.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and she has a strange cadence of delivering all of her lines in this movie, which it was just
In a
weird.
lot of movies, yeah.
Yeah, and in this particular one, I asked Mads, I'm like, what? He had a little
You
funny
asked her
story
why?
about, yeah, that I think she said literally that she had trouble remembering her lines, and that's why it was kind of this weird, slow.
Oh.
I think it was her processing. Uh,
Oh, I gotta
trying,
interrupt you.
yeah.
Speaking of Gillian Anderson, she was in The Crown,
Mm. Oh,
which
so
that
she
was what I've
play.
been watching. I watched all 4 episodes last night.
Gotcha.
You gotta watch it, Robert. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I think it was The
Oh,
Onion or
it
something had
gets
a
you.
little funny thing about that. There's like, spoiler alert, they're gonna kill off a main character.
Yeah, somebody does die. The Onion said that. I love The Onion.
Something like that.
That's funny.
I was laughing. So anyway, but
Go, I'm sorry.
she
No,
is
but
fantastic in this series as well. So
Jillian.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she
Um,
is a good
yeah.
actress.
So Will Graham's house I could not find for a long time, and eventually I tracked it, and they end up using it later in It chapter 2, I think,
Oh,
as
okay,
kids' houses and stuff.
okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Nice.
so lots of locations around Toronto.
What was the entire series? At least the ones on your page. This was all Toronto based.
Yeah, so pretty much they stayed in Toronto the whole time. They share some locations with uh, The Handmaid's Tale, which was shot later. Um, but and some things, if I couldn't find, I do
Oh,
include on my page just for continuity's sake. So if a fan is going to these places, that they can check it out.
Tobias play people like a violin, and does just that.
Aren't I being funny? So I
That
do
is
remember like
funny.
that first shot. I was like, I try to make sure the lights are the same, uh,
Oh
red and
yeah.
green when I on the shots I
Oh,
do.
good.
So
Nice attention to detail. Why don't you do Franny's
the
house?
things I do. So
No,
Franny.
that is a nice
Yeah.
touch. Oh, this is very pretty.
Yeah. So this is a little kind of conservation area. In This is outside of Toronto, of course, kind of way out there and stuff like that. But I do my best to kind of line up the shots without actually going into the water like they do. But
Right. They find bodies in the water
yeah,
here.
yes. Um, and it is a gruesome series. I'll say that. I
I kind of want to watch it now.
I there were times I would literally look away, and I'm a horror movie fan,
Really?
and I would still look away because I can't believe the NBC got on broadcast television with what they did for
So
some. Yeah.
they so some of the corpses that
Hmm.
they you mean they push the envelope a little bit?
I felt like, yeah,
Oh,
I
really?
enough that I'm just like, ooh,
Why
I
is
would.
Hannibal here? Does he like help the police because he's a
He is. So
psychiatrist?
a lot of this takes place in kind of Red Dragonish area, or kind of pre-Red Dragon, where um
Okay, he's like a
he's they don't know
prominent member of
he's a bad
society.
guy. Yep, and so forth. So I don't want to spoil anything, but it kind of takes place in that middle area where they kind of use him as his kind of psychiatric skills to help
Yeah,
figure the shout and so forth. But
interesting premise.
yeah,
In the
so
episode Nakachoco, the Natural History Museum is played by the Royal Ontario Museum in Queens Park. Very nice shots,
yeah,
Robert. Very
yep.
nice.
So I
Looks
do
very
need
familiar. What
I
other movie was this in?
it's been used in a lot. So, and especially lately,
Yeah.
Toronto, between Chucky the series and Handmaid's Tale and
Okay.
A Christmas Story, all sorts of things were in Toronto. So
Yeah.
yeah, I remember I went to kind of this. I'm surprised I found as much as I did, because
Wow,
some of
this is a
these.
nice shot.
Yeah, so this is a part of the
Cool.
Casa Loma estate, which and as you can see, there's a lot of construction. I was like, oh, my shot's ruined, but I did the best I could to.
My shot's ruined.
But you're trying to find
I
a
know.
shot,
Yeah, I know. You're
and
there. You want it to be good.
yeah, and this is where the horse stables were, which I could not get into, or I started walking around, and they said you're not
Oh,
supposed to be here. I'm like, oh, all right,
all
but
right.
all right.
I'm actually with zoning. I'm here to
Don't you know who
take
I am?
pictures.
Yeah. So
Right. Attractive, isn't
yeah,
he?
but yes, a lot of college campuses. Toronto has a lot of universities all over the place. So
Do they?
yeah. And then I stayed. If you stop right, just that. So this is the hotel I stayed at. Um,
This one?
yeah, so I think it was kind of right next
Oh.
to that. So where it's supposed to be France, and so they do start to use CGI where they put some stuff in the. So this was
Oh.
my hotel that I stayed at while in Toronto. So
Interesting. Well, it is French speaking. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, that's
cool.
true. That is true. So, but yeah,
All right.
so yeah, I would highly recommend
Interesting.
checking out this series, and some of these were a little hard to find, but and some had been found, of course, before. There used to be this Real Toronto, REEL, that would kind of sometimes publish websites. So he and I kind of work together on a couple things and kind of share information. So,
Oh, okay.
but so they would say,
Dr. Chilton.
yeah. So uh, they have a good Dr. Chilton in this one too. And then Freddie is played by a female in this version. So they do kind of mix it up a little bit. And then yeah, Francis Dollarhide. So they do get into the Red Dragon era for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for
They
sure.
do not have rights to the Clarice characters, so they
No,
avoid all that.
no.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Probably for the
Mass,
best.
yeah,
We could
yeah,
not
it's
touch
probably
that
just better
again.
because you don't want to start messing with that. So, but so yeah, there's me and Maz. Look at him looking like he wants to eat me.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, on purpose. So, Catherine Isabel played Margot Verger, which she does not show up in the movie version. So,
Oh,
they do
right.
stick to the book. And I'm wearing a Hannibal shirt if you see that. So,
Oh, yeah.
over another shirt. It's one of
Little
those
Beach.
conventions. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
this
that's so
guy was
cool.
in one episode, and I just met him at a Slam Dance Festival. So it's always kind of weird because like you're taking me a picture of me for that. So yeah, so
Right.
Raul Esparza plays Dr. Chilton. So and then Bryan
Oh.
Fuller is the creator of this series. So
Who did Larry Fishburne play? Lawrence Fishburne?
Jack Crawford.
He played. Oh, okay. This is so cool. This is a great page, Robert.
Thank you.
That's Hannibal. I do kind of want to watch that now. And if you recommend it, and if you
I
turned
do.
away, I'm gonna
I do
turn away for
recommend it. So
sure.
definitely seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 gets a little off the grid a little bit, I'll say.
Really?
Yeah, which is like a little too kind of esoteric for me, but yeah, and there's still a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to have it come back someday. I'd be open to that. I think Maz would be open to that.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Um, yeah, interesting page. Yeah, definitely gonna check it out. It's does it make you want to watch the films? Like, I mean,
No,
does it? Do you notice things in there where you're like, oh yeah, I kind of want to watch Hannibal now. Like, there's a little Easter eggs and things like
it
that.
actually doesn't. And I did a few months
No,
ago did an entire
that's okay.
rewatch of Terry rewatch of the entire series because I haven't seen it in a while, and I just really want to watch it beginning to end. And I was just like,
Yeah.
they were still, like I said, I can't believe they. I would still look away sometimes. I'm like, that's disgusting.
Oh.